Daystar Peterson, better known as Tory Lanez, burst onto the music scene all gas, no brakes in 2009. Each year following, he accumulated more fame and gained more fans. His following became nearly cult-like, and that became extremely evident after the events of July 12, 2020. Today, Tory Lanez may be more infamous than famous, and he has no one to blame but his temper, his ego, and internet chatter. Welcome to Go Dutch TV. I'm Duchess, and this is Under the Influence.
Duchess said give y'all this disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. All statements and information relayed was obtained from various news and media outlets available on the internet and personal opinion. Law school never saw her, nor is she a journalist. Everything is alleged, or allegedly. Enjoy the video.
Tory Lanez was born Daystar Shemuel Shrey Peterson on July 27, 1992, to parents Sunstar and Luella. Born in Ontario, the family relocated to Montreal before putting down roots in Miami, Florida. At the age of 11, Tory Lanez's mother passed. From that point, his father became a minister and missionary. He and Tory moved around the country frequently, up until the point that his dad remarried and settled down in Atlanta, Georgia. It's around this time that we get our first glimpse of something being a little bit off with Lil Daystar. He earned the nickname Lanez because he enjoyed running and playing in traffic. So his best friend at the time nicknamed him Lanez. His behavioral issues did not end with him trying to play real life traffic cone, however. Those issues caused his father, the self-proclaimed spiritual father to thousands, to decide not to be a physical father to his own son. He shipped him to live with cousins in Jamaica, Queens, New York. Those cousins said, get somebody else to do it, and shipped him to live with his grandmother in Canada. Grandmother said, answer no. At 15, Tory moved out, dropped out of 10th grade, and in his own words, became a man when he moved in with 3 dudes from downtown and didn't know how things went, so he had to fight them every day. This made him a man. It's also at this time that he began rapping, performing at outdoor concerts, initially under the name Notorious, before fully adopting the moniker Tory Lanez. At 17, he added singing to his rap repertoire. The rest is history. In 2009, he dropped his first mixtape. He began directing some of his music videos and uploading them to YouTube, and this caught the attention of Sean Kingston, who at the time was on tour with Justin Bieber. He reached out to Tory Lanez for a meetup, and that meetup resulted in Tory performing some shows during that Justin Bieber tour. This landed Tory a record deal, and between 2009 and 2015, he released 11 mixtapes. After leaving Sean Kingston's label and signing with Mad Love Records under Interscope, he released his debut album and lead single, Say It. Say It peaked at number 10 on the United States R&B and hip-hop song chart. In January of 2016, Lanez performed on Jimmy Kimmel Live with Brownstone, whose song, Say It, sampled. By this time, Tory had built a very strong fan base based on his proficiency with dropping mixtapes and also his electrifying live performances. He performed at Summer Jam and the Pemberton Music Festival, and he also toured with A$AP Ferg. Another thing happened in 2016 that gave me a little bit of pause and also gave us a peek into his delusions of grandeur. He was offered a spot on the XXL freshman class cover. He declined because he said that, and I quote, he was in a higher league musically than the other performers selected. So let's go over the list, shall we? XXL's 2016 freshman class included Designer, I'll give him that, G Herbo, I don't know that little boy, Denzel Curry, Lil Yachty, Lil Dicky, Lil Uzi Vert, Kodak Black, Dave East, 21 Savage, and Anderson .Paak. Drummer, rapper, singer, songwriter, Anderson .Paak. Venice, Anderson .Paak. Grammy nominated Malibu, Anderson .Paak. Grammy Award winning song Bubbling, Anderson .Paak. Free Nationals, Anderson .Paak. One half of Silk Sonic, Anderson .Paak. Tory Lanez said, no, I am not like them. I am better than them, and I will not be on the cover with them. Outside of him thinking his britches were way bigger than the toddler-sized tighty whities that he wore, something else happened in 2016. He incited a riot at one of his shows in Midland, Texas. After having words with security, Tory instructed the crowd to fuck it up, get closer to the stage, and yelled at the bitch-ass security, to which his fans responded by throwing chairs at everybody, fighting, and pretty much doing what he said, fucking shit up. Promoters did consider filing charges, but for whatever reason, that story just went away. He was also arrested in April in Miami for failing to register a motor vehicle, operating a vehicle without a license, no insurance, marijuana possession, and carrying a concealed firearm after he was pulled over in his 2014 Rolls Royce. While Tory did come out and say in an article that all of the charges had been dropped, it appears from court documents he actually paid $27,000 in fines, and it was deferred. Also in 2016, we have the video release of a verbal altercation between he and Travis Scott. Now, this altercation was because someone commented that Tory Lanez sounded similar to Travis Scott. And Tory got in him feelings real bad. And even though he was on tour with Travis, and Travis Scott was the bigger star at the time, he felt like he needed to check him. That he did. It was caught on video. Travis appeared to try and de-escalate the situation and talk calmly, but Tory stood on his tippy toes and was like, we can go outside and catch a fade. And Travis was just looking at him like, little boy, sit down. The following year, there was a little more chatter that came and went about Tory Lanez. Twitter user Lou Doll, who claimed to be an ex-girlfriend of Tory, said that he had been stalking her since she broke up with him. Several news publications did pick up the story, and Tory said adamantly, on my mama, I do not know that woman. In response, she released all of their text messages with him threatening her. But we know Tory be lying. Next, there was a video released of Tory Lanez attacking Love and Hip Hop Miami star Prince. Prince Michael Hardy is an LGBTQIA rapper and promoter from Miami. He seems to have no issues with anyone. We still do not know what the cause of this altercation was. A video was released, and it appears Tory took some type of a swan dive over a sofa, punched Prince in the face, and in the same fluid motion kept running forward. And this is something that is going to pop up again with him punching people in the face and running at the same time. Once he punched Prince in the face, his security said, "Can the drummer get some?" And they proceeded to beat Prince. And this was in Live, or is it Live nightclub in Miami. Next, there was an attack on R&B singer Joshua Benoit. Joshua was shooting a video in a barbershop. Again, we do not know what caused this altercation. Video was released of Tory Lanez punching Joshua in the face, and it appeared as he punched, he was also stepping into a run. The video immediately cut off at that point. Joshua Benoit did go to social media and said Tory punched him in the face, immediately took off running out of the barbershop, and he was asking anyone who had video to please send it to him. He said that he had reached out to Tory Lanez several times. He was requesting basically, let's meet up somewhere and fight because you hit me and took off running and I'm trying to get my lick back. Because Tory would not respond, he took it to social media. Later in 2020, an IG user by the name of Brianna Anna, who claimed to be another ex-girlfriend of Tory Lanez, released a statement, which I'm going to read. She states, "I've been dealing with physical, verbal, and emotional abuse for the past 9 months from someone most of you look up to and even idolize, at Tory Lanez." Now, first of all, Miss Brianna Anna, who is looking up to Tory Lanez besides children? Like under 9. Who else is looking up to him? Not adults, but we'll continue. She goes on to say, "I've been quiet about this whole situation because I felt the need to protect him, knowing what he's gone through and not having any real support system. I've done nothing to this man but showed him genuine love and support, even when he constantly humiliated me and embarrassed me in public. I never once disrespected him until today when he pulled up at my house uninvited, second day in a row. I have moved on and he has refused to accept it. If I can't have you, no other nigga can. And at this point, I feel like my life is at risk. Never in my life have I felt so scared. As I type this, tears are running down my face because I know I'm not the only one going through this. It took a lot for me to make this public, but I know a lot of women have lost their lives because they simply didn't speak up, and I refuse to be a victim. Today, I've decided to speak up about the situation that is threatening to me, as I don't know what he's thinking and I don't know what to expect." All of that brings us to the events of July 12th, 2020. The SUV that Tory Lanez was traveling in, along with Megan Pete, better known as Meg Thee Stallion, and Kelsey Harris, better known as Kelsey Nicole, was pulled over by police. Several calls had come into 911 about a shooting, and the vehicle had been described. At the time, Meg was taken to the hospital. Tory Lanez was arrested for carrying a concealed firearm, but no one really knew what was going on. On July 15th, 3 days later, Meg Thee Stallion stated she had been shot by someone intending to hurt her. 5 weeks later, on August 20th, on IG Live, she identified Tory Lanez as her shooter. From court documents and prosecution interviews with Kelsey Nicole, this is what we can surmise happened on that night. Meg Thee Stallion, Kelsey Nicole, and her hairstylist went to a pool party at the home of Kylie Jenner. Everybody had a good time. They were drinking. Meg made nachos. They got drunk. At some point, Meg invited Tory Lanez to come to the party. According to both Kelsey and her stylist, she got drunk, very drunk, and went to sleep. When she awoke, Tory was there. They hung out and decided to leave. Once they left, she realized she'd left a designer slipper at Kylie's house. Only she and Kelsey left the party. Tory was still there. When she returned, she came back with Tory. She and Tory were arguing. It is still unknown what they were arguing about. And together they entered the SUV that was driven by Tory's driver and security guard. Along the ride to their destination, Tory and Megan continued to argue. According to both Meg and Kelsey, Tory attempted to flip the argument or, at the very least, make Kelsey mad at Meg. It seems Kelsey had a crush on Tory, and Meg had told her she should shoot her shot and she would help hook it up. But at this time, COVID happened, people were on lockdown. Kelsey was in Texas with the man who at the time was her boyfriend, but is now her husband and father of her child. And she had just returned to LA to be with Meg shortly before this event happened. Tory turned to Kelsey and was like, I know something you don't know. And that's something that he knew that he wanted to share, is that he and Meg slept together. But it didn't go quite how he thought it was going to go. Despite rumblings of Meg and Kelsey having a physical altercation, there is absolutely no record anywhere stating they had a fight. According to both of them, he was like, me and Meg fucked. And Kelsey was like, so the fuck what? You're not going to be talking to my friend like that. And she jumped in the argument, and she and Meg both continued this verbal altercation with Tory. I would assume more motivation for Kelsey to take Meg's side. Not only did she have a boyfriend, not only was Tory never her man, not only did she and Tory never have a physical or sexual relationship, Meg was her boss. She was her best friend and her boss, meaning she was her source of income. Who do you know is going to fight their boss because their boss had sex with somebody they had a crush on? Who is going to let that money fly out of the window over a 5'3" man with the voice of a prepubescent boy whose nuts haven't dropped, with veneers the size of dentures and an 80-year-old man hairline? Who is going to blow their bag over that? I went down a real rabbit hole trying to find the source of where the Meg and Kelsey having a fight story came from. After the days of research that I put into this case, it seems it was literally a comment that a user put on a post on the Shade Room. Tory never said it. Meg never said it. Kelsey never said it. It was literally a comment on the Shade Room. And for whatever reason, Tory was like, oh, this is going to be my defense. Anywho, the argument continues. At some point, Meg attempted to leave the vehicle. She was talked into getting back into the car as she was just walking down the street in a two-piece thong bathing suit. She did get back into the car. They proceeded to drive along, but the argument continued with she and Kelsey arguing with Tory. According to Meg and according to Kelsey, they start talking about who is hotter, who is the more talented artist. And Meg says something to the effect of, you're not hot, you're only popping because you were on Jack Harlow's remix. And Tory saw red. Tory is in his feelings. It continued to escalate. According to Kelsey, Tory said to her, "I will fucking shoot you," which is also evidence that she was arguing with Tory, not arguing and fighting with Meg. But she says when he made that threat, he motioned to the center console, but she did not see a gun. The argument continues. Meg gets the driver to stop again. According to Meg, she gets out of the front where she was sitting. She starts to walk down the street. Kelsey gets out of the back passenger side and she's standing on the side but has not yet closed the door. She says she doesn't know how Tory got across the seat so fast, but we know he's pocket sized. And we also saw from the video with him attacking Prince that the nigga kind of magical like a leprechaun. And he definitely caught a lot of air going over the back of that sofa. I'm imagining because his little legs are so small and he's so spry, he was able to just jump hop over the seat real quick. He began shooting between the opening of the door and the front of the car. According to Kelsey, after the first 2 or 3 shots, Meg looked back and in her words, she says Meg looked like a deer in headlights. She says that's the only way that I can describe that look. Meg says the same thing. She's walking down the street. She hears either dance bitch or damn bitch, and she hears gunshots. She looks back and she freezes. Whether she was shot directly or bullets ricocheted, the result of this was bullet fragments being in both her left and right feet. Some of those fragments are still in her feet to this day. Next, according to both Meg and Kelsey's statement that she gave with prosecutors in September of 2022 before the trial began, Tory immediately rushed over to Meg, as did Kelsey. Kelsey says at this point, even though she was in shock, her protective instinct kicked in. This was her friend. She runs over to Meg. Tory is approaching, and according to Meg, he immediately says, "I'll give you $1 million. Don't say anything." The response from Meg was not what he expected it to be. She was like, "How in the hell you trying to offer me $1 million? You just shot me." Kelsey is also, according to her, running on pure adrenaline. This results in Tory then attacking Kelsey. She says she does not know if he was hitting her with a closed fist or with an open hand, but he did hit her more than once, and he also pulled chunks of hair from her head. His bodyguard got out of the car, pulled him off of her, and she ran to the car. The driver's side was still open, and according to her, she made the car jerk. And this made Tory back away from Megan, but it again turned his sights to her. He continued his attack on Kelsey, grabbing her around her neck. She says he wasn't choking her, but he was pulling her by her neck, which broke a chain that she was wearing. At some point, she says she dumbed herself down and she said, "Tory, what are we doing? What is happening? What are we doing?" And it was like a light bulb went off and the South Pole elf became a regular elf and he just snapped out of it. They got back into the vehicle, but at this point, because they were in a residential area, 911 had been called and they were very swiftly pulled over. And we've all seen that video of them being ordered from the vehicle and having to lay on the ground. At the time, Meg told police, because she was bleeding from both her feet, she stated she had cut her feet on glass. There were four black people in an SUV, half naked in bathing suits, not very long after the George Floyd incident. She knew a gun was in the car and she was not comfortable saying, "This little nigga shot me." So she lied. She was taken to the hospital. X-rays were done. Bullet fragments were seen, and surgery was performed on one of her feet to remove them. The fragments were able to simply be cut and picked out. While in the hospital, Meg and her team had every intention of keeping this silent. However, Tory Lanez and his team had another plan. Before he was bailed out, he contacted Kelsey. We've heard the recording of him apologizing, saying that he never would have done that if he hadn't been drunk. He knew that Meg would never speak to him again. He knew that he would get the brunt of this. He asked what hospital Meg was in. He asked Kelsey to please apologize to Meg for him. Now, I'm not understanding how people think that call can possibly be him apologizing to Kelsey for saying he and Meg slept together. If Meg and Kelsey fought and Kelsey shot Meg, why would he be sending Meg's shooter to apologize to Meg? That makes absolutely no sense. But this case showed us common sense is not fucking common at all. The end of this call, he asked Kelsey to get in contact with his bodyguard and to get him out of this shit. 3 days later is when Meg says she was shot. 5 weeks later is when she says it was Tory. And then on September 25th, Tory releases Daystar. He spoke about Megan and the shooting on Money Over Fallouts. Friends become strangers. Sorry, but I had to. Look how God works. Queen and Slim. Solar Drive at Night. Bittersweet and In the Air. Meantime and in between time, Megan is silent as a mouse. But beef was now brewing between she and Kelsey because Kelsey felt she'd been cut off. Meg felt she'd been betrayed. She knew that Kelsey had contact with Tory. She knew that Tory offered both of them $1 million that night. She didn't need his $1 million. Maybe Kelsey did. Kelsey herself did release a diss track. I believe the name of it was Who Shot You? At least she said it several times in the song. But in the song, she did say all Meg had to do was back her. She knows who shot her. She knows that it wasn't her. She said, if I had a gun, we'll be talking about a murder. She says, basically, Megan didn't have her back by not coming out immediately and saying, Kelsey didn't shoot me. That was her gripe. She said very clearly, you know who shot you, and you know that it wasn't me. When social media chatter started to say that Kelsey was the person that shot Meg, Tory Lanez, or at least his account, commented under one of those statements saying she did not. On October 8th, the LA County District Attorney's Office announced that they were filing charges against Daystar Peterson, aka Tory Lanez. They were charging him with felony assault with a semi-automatic firearm. On October 13th, a judge issued a protective order, and Tory needed to stay 100 yards from Meg. Tory had other plans. Not only did he send a text to Meg stating that she looked sad on a live, is really given obsessed. On July 25th of 2021, he appeared with DaBaby as a special guest at the Rolling Loud Festival. DaBaby performed immediately after Meg Thee Stallion. She says that she walked past Tory and didn't know who he was because he was wearing this weird, large, stuffed head mask. He got on the stage and took that mask off, and the crowd went wild when they saw that tiny fucking terror on stage. The judge responded by increasing his bond from $190,000 to $250,000. Leading up to the trial, on September 17th, 2022, Tory Lanez attacked August Alsina. Video was released of Tory attempting to give August dap backstage at a show. August is walking by alone, no security. He passes Tory and his crew. Tory holds out his hand. August gave him one of these and kept walking. Tory's ego was very much so hurt. Napoleon Complex said, "We can't let this slide." And he proceeded to, according to August, punch him, run off. Are we catching a pattern? And after he ran off, his security ran up. Tory says he doesn't know what August is talking about. He was in the studio. He was not even there. Even though he performed that night and was on the flyer. But again, as we know, Tory be lying. On December 12th, the trial begins. It continued until December 23rd. Some interesting things happened during this trial. Meg told her version of events. Kelsey got amnesia. She remembered nothing. She pled the fifth a whole lot. And the defense insinuated that Kelsey had been so threatened and so nervous when she was talking to prosecutors. She felt bullied. Them introducing that version of events allowed the prosecution to play the full 80-minute interview that she'd done with them just a couple months earlier. That's how we know her version of events matches Meg's version of events. That's also why I'm speculating Tory was paying her and his security / driver on a firm or Klarna afterpay. During her interview with the prosecution, she said that she had an attorney. The only time that she cried during this interview was when she said, "I was a victim too, and everybody's turning on me, but Tory attacked me too." She was very upset by that. And according to her, she did get an attorney to sue for her damages. Now, Tory did offer that $1 million. I'm assuming he was paying on it like a layaway. And that final payment hadn't hit. She'd been subpoenaed. She was looking at either going to jail or doing an interview. That final little payment hadn't hit. She did that interview and she told the truth in September. 2 months later, those payments had gone through. She got up there and pled the fifth. As far as her immunity goes, bribery is illegal. If you give a bribe or if you take a bribe, you've broken the law. So for everyone who thinks her pleading the fifth is because she was guilty and didn't want to incriminate herself for shooting Meg, it's actually because she didn't want to incriminate herself for taking that $1 million payoff. That payoff is also the reason that the prosecution attempted to add additional charges to Tory Lanez after they interviewed Kelsey at the beginning of trial. And the judge would not allow them to tack on those additional charges. As for the driver, he was supposed to be called by the defense, and he went missing. That nigga went, where's Waldo? Big as he is, baby, we couldn't find him nowhere. I'm guessing his final payment went through on the last day of trial, and that's why he showed up. Now, on that day that he showed up, he was interviewed in the courthouse, and Tory's attorneys decided not to call him. They weren't banned from doing it. The prosecution didn't object to it. During the interview, it went on record what he was going to testify to, and the defense said, no, we're not going to call him. Now, to the public, They said they decided not to call him because it was close to Christmas. Girl, here's my speculation. They didn't call him because that check had just cleared that morning, and they knew from the interview he may be shaky, and once cross-examination hit his ass, the truth might slip out, because the defense also called one Sean Kelly. Oh, if he wasn't a blessing and a curse to the defense. He did say he heard the women screaming and arguing. He saw the women fighting. But Mr. Kelly also said he saw everybody beating the woman on the ground, who would have been Meg. He saw the driver, Kelsey, and Tory all beating a shot Meg. Then he saw them pick her up, and he thought they were going to throw her in a river. A river in a residential area. A river that is actually a canal. So it seems Mr. Kelly has a little exaggeration problem. The initial interview he gave to the defense, I don't know what version of this story he told. I don't know what he may or may not have received. But I guarantee you, unless these attorneys got their law degree from Walmart on Black Friday, they would not have called this man if they knew he was going to testify to what he testified to. One thing being the little guy shooting a gun all over the place and being super duper violent and aggressive with his words. Had the bodyguard been called to testify, not only would he have been cross-examined by the prosecution, not only would we have had to know where in the hell he was during this entire trial, they also would have asked him about what Sean Kelly said. Were you beating Meg Thee Stallion on the side of the road? Did you pick her up and try to throw her in a river? Did you pull Tory off of Kelsey when he was beating her, like Kelsey said? Maybe they would have asked him if he knew who was paying for Kelsey's attorneys, since Kelsey didn't know who was paying for her attorneys. There's a lot of questions that he would have answered that, no matter how you slice it, would have been damaging to the defense's case. I would like to also backtrack a bit. The attorneys that Tory used during his trial were not his original attorneys. He did have a female attorney that had been with him up until about 2 weeks before the trial. He fired her because she said she did not think him trying to pin it on Kelsey would be a good defense. He fired her because he was listening to his fans on social media. But I mean, let's just be honest. This was not a whodunit. The victim is not dead. The victim is still alive. The victim, according to herself and another witness at the scene, turned around and saw who shot her. If you think that a person is drunk, goes to sleep, and wakes up drunker, let me tell you, that's not how alcohol works. If you take a nap, you may not wake up sober, but you're definitely not going to wake up drunker. And you're for sure not going to wake up so drunk you don't recognize an inchworm that you slept with and called your friend, pulling out a gun and shooting you. And if you've ever been under the influence and a fight broke out, or you heard that whoop whoop of a siren, I guarantee you somebody shooting at you will sober you up even quicker. But Tory believed Black Twitter and IG comments, and that the jury would be pulled from his followers and members of the Lollipop Guild. They were not. It was adults with critical thinking skills. After a 2-day deliberation, Tory Lanez was found guilty of all 3 charges: assault with a semi-automatic firearm, possession of a concealed unregistered firearm, and negligent discharge of a firearm. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, where he is currently serving his time. He has appealed several times already, the most recent of which was denied, is when his absentee driver popped up again and gave a statement saying that Kelsey had the gun, but he didn't see her shoot. The judge was like, boy, go on somewhere with that bullshit. This is not new evidence. This is what was discussed upstairs in the courthouse, and this is what we knew you were going to testify to. And if they didn't call you to testify in trial, I ain't trying to hear that shit now. He's still trying, and currently he has a pro bono attorney. I guess those payouts added up. That brings us to the end of this episode of Under the Influence. Thank you guys so much for joining me, Royal Court. I know it's been a while. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step to, but I am back. We will be dropping videos every Wednesday. We're going to do what we set out to do. Have us some drinks, talk about celebrity, civil, and criminal cases. We're going to build the royal court, and I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Until next time, be blessed, be fabulous, and be fearless. Peace.